All right, so next time. So page 2, full size. The polar is, this is, watch out, because a whole bunch of us are going to goof this up. So I'm going to zoom in. Will you please be really careful with this? When you do 4 cosine, r comes from 4 cosine of 3 theta. So when you do these, you have to be extra careful that you take 3 times the angle first. The order of operations requires that you do the 3 times the angle first. First, triple the angle. Just like Colin does every time he does one of these. You got to triple the angle first, then you cosine, then and last is you're going to multiply by that 4. So there's a lot of funny things our brain does going out of order. Just make sure you triple the angle, then take the cosine, then times 4. Because I love that 3 times 0 is 0 because the cosine of 0 is 1. I get 4 times 1 effectively, and I get 4. So much better. Okay, for the next one, I'll change colors so it stands out a little bit, I think. But pi over 6, it's 4 cosine 3 times pi over 6. The 3 times pi over 6 is pi over 2. The cosine of pi over 2 is 0, so this is essentially 4 times 0, and I get 0. But you have to do that first, triple the angle, then cosine, then times 4. And this is exact. This is all unit circle, so you won't have a calculator. You're just trying to, you just make sure you know your basic unit circle values. Same for the next one. Let's switch colors again. We'll alternate. The 4 cos, if you're tripling pi over 3, then that makes pi, and cosine of pi is -1. So you end up with -4. Okay, the next one, we'll alternate blue. Then this is 4 cosine 3 times pi over 2. That's 3 pi over 2. Oopsie. And 3 pi over 2, the cosine is -1. Or it's 0 actually, right? 4 times 0, because you're doing cosine. And you get 4 times 0, which is 0. Okay, so watch out for unit circle. And 2 pi over 3. If you do 4 times the cosine of 3 times 2 pi over 3, the 3's cancel. And you get 2 pi. And the cosine of 2 pi is like cosine of 0. It's just 1. And you get 4. And we're almost there, the last one. Yes. So it's a little tedious. I don't want to give you a bunch of those, but watch your order of operations. Just be careful. So 5 pi over 6, that reduces to 5 pi over 2. And 5 pi over 2 is, if I do my unit circle and do pi over 2s, that's 1 pi over 2, 2 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, 4. 5 pi over 2 is straight up. And the cosine of that is 0, so 4 times 0 is 0. So you have to do order of operations. Triple the angle, cosine, times 4. It could be any combination. Also, y'all know what this is. This is a rose curve. Do you know how many petals? Do you want to get? Anyone want to guess? 3 petals. So you kind of have an image of it too. So if you were to plot them, you know what you're getting into. And what I'll do is I'm going to jump to the next polar one, and then I'll record the vector thing later. You can watch it on your own time or check it against your work, but we're going to run out of time. But I want to do one more polar and plot it because that's kind of our newest topic and it relates to today for some of you guys. When you guys do 3 cosine of theta, 3 cosine of 0 is 3 times 1 is 3. These are a little easier. Cosine of 30 is square root of 3 over 2, so this is 3 square roots of 3 over 2 because you're tripling the cosine of 30. Then it's 3 square roots of 2 over 2 because you're doing the cosine of 45. 3 times a half or 3 halves. -3 halves. So you're tripling nice unit circle values. So -3 square roots of 2 over 2. And then 150 is cosine is square root of 3 over 2. So it's square root of 3 times 3 over 2. Got it. And then 180, cosine is -1. So you get -3. With that table full and carefully plotting it is face the angle like 0, 3. I'm going to go facing 0, go out 3 rings. But before you start plotting this, look at the picture and say, oh, that's a circle. It's a cosine circle. And circles face right, and they have a radius of 3. So when you get, as you're drawing this, plot points, just make sure in your brain you're like, oh, I know what this is going to look like. It's going to be one of these dudes. When I'm done, I can see it coming. And then plot carefully. Face 30, walk out 3 squared to 3 over 2. If you want to ballpark how much that is, you kind of have an idea. Or have a, I don't know if it's in the calculator section or not, but just be approximate and kind of have a sense of what picture you're drawing before you get going. And that's it. So you can have these. And I think, do any one of these end up being 0? I think we skipped pi over 2, so we didn't have 0. So we have all those other points. But while facing 30, 3 squared to 3 over 2, roughly there. And then while facing 45, you go 1 1/2. It's a little bit closer, so, oopsie. So 1 1/2 right there. Oops, I blipped. But you're facing 30, you go a little bit further, and then you go here to 1 1/2 while you're facing 45. And then when you get to 120, check this out. When facing 120, you go backward 1 1/2. So it's a mirror image of what's below, and then plotting those points, if you just connect the dots, you're going to get a shape you know as a circle. It's a cosine circle facing to the right. And I'll let you finish from there. So that's the heart and soul of it. I will do the vector part of it in video 3, and then we'll call it good. Cool. And I gotta go small, and then hit stop.